Hello, my fellow readers. Hello, my fellow readers. This is I, Dark Symphony 777, with another fanfiction reading. As always, a link to the story will be in the description below. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, click on that bell for notifications, and leave a comment in the comment section below on your thoughts of the story. So, I am reading a story called Lacero. It is a Ready Player One fanfiction. It was actually suggested to me by Lady Armister, and she just told me like this really cool detail that this was actually incorporated into Ready Player One in the movie. So this fanfiction actually became canon, according to her. I'm not too familiar with the movie. I know, like, when I saw the trailers for it, before it came out, way before it came out in theaters, I think a year or two ago. I don't even know when Ready Player One came out. The only thing I cared about is the fact that the Iron freaking Giant. I think that's all that most people saw that movie for. It's like, Iron Giant, Iron Giant, Iron Giant. I was like, oh, he's in there. And so she told me that this story was was actually made canon by the movie. So I'm not. And so she thought it'd be a cool idea to have me, like, do a reading of the story. So, let's get started. The story's called Lacero. Okay? So that's the name of the story. Who's the author? Also has some spoilers, so you should definitely not read this if you haven't read the book. I'm sorry, but I'm sorry, but that is the opinion that you are having. I'm gonna read this story whether you want me to not read the book or not. And I know that sentence made absolutely no sense. Let's see. Lacero sat in the shuttle's cargo bay, lost in his own thoughts. Actually, he was in the haptic feedback unit in his living room, but within the world of the Oasis. He was cruising across the sector in a dilapidated cargo ship based on the Eagle transporter from space, 1999. Two egg hunters, or gunters, of course, sat across from him discussing their plans for finding Anorak's Easter egg. The woman, a techie, wore a skin-tight jumpsuit with numerous belts, each eyed in with technological gadgetry and weapons. The other, a man sporting a long gray beard, wore a blue robe decorated with occult symbols. There's been a good partnership, effective in both magic and tech zones, especially strong in chaos zones. How about you, friend? Said the wizard. Huh? Asked Lacero. What will you do if you win? Lacero rolled his eyes. Not a gunter. So I'm guessing these gunters or the egg hunters are Easter egg hunters. They're basically people who basically look for Easter eggs in game. Like that's pretty much. I think that's like a big section in YouTube, like among the gaming thing. That there's an entire subdivision of YouTubers in the gaming community that's basically just obsessed with like looking for Easter eggs and stuff like that. I know that's actually very big in the zombies community and like the Resident Evil community, because a lot of people try to find like all these little Easter eggs and stuff like that. So I know it's big, so it's really cool. The two adventurers smirked to each other, then turned back to him. Sure, said the techie. You just happen to be a well-armed, high-level guy headed to planet Gaiax. Yeah. Come on, said the wizard. Thanks to Eddie Pendergast's press conference last week, everyone knows about the copper key clue. It obviously refers to the Tomb of Horrors. Every gunter in the Oasis is headed to Gygax anyway. There's no official Tomb of Horror zone there. Seriously, where else could it be? Fine, Lacero sighed. I'm looking for the Easter egg, but I'm not a gunter. The techie frowned. Looking for the Easter egg is the definition of a gunter, isn't it? No, Lacero said. You guys are part of the problem. The two looked at him quizzically. The whole world's going to hell, Lacero said. And Oasis is why. People care more about this collections of bits and bytes than they do about the real world. Come on, said the wizard. Life's tough, yeah? But you can't blame Oasis. Fossil fuels ran out, corporations got too much power, and... Bull, Lacero interrupted. That's just an excuse people use to dodge responsibility. That's true. The world is what we make it. We could have found solutions to the energy crisis if we tried. True again. And the corporation only took over because no one was willing to deal with the crap necessary to run a society. Also true, that's actually what's happening now. If by corporation you mean China. No one cared. The whole damn world is obsessed with this place. It's a constant escape from reality. But it's not reality. And the real world is crumbling around us while the people obsess over idiotic video games. Oasis does tons of good for people, the techie protested. Their schools are the best primary educational system in the world. And they're free. Yeah, whatever, Lacero said. A few PR stunts doesn't absolve GSS of their sins. You know what they are? Drug dealers. They sell is escapism, and the whole world is addicted. And it's every bit as destructive as heroin. Fruit skills won't wash the blood off their hands. Oh, come on, said the wizard. What bloods? My sister, for one, Lacero said darkly. Two Gunters remained silent for a moment. Then the wizard said, okay? What do you mean? Spent every waking moment in her haptic, Lacero began. She ignored friends, family, and anyone else who cared about her. She only leave Oasis long enough to eat and sleep. And half the time she'd do that while wearing her haptic anyway. She lived in a meth-infused tenement, spending what little money she had left from Dad's will on her stupid obsession. When Holiday died, she went into overdrive. When the hunt first started, people didn't realize everyone would get stumped. Some thought it would only be a matter of days, maybe weeks before it was all over. She became obsessed. She stopped sleeping because it took up too much time. She started taking meth to stay awake. She figured she could sleep later. Guess where this is going. She'd been dead in her haptic for 3 days before she was discovered. The only reason anyone noticed was because neighbors complained about the smell. Drug overdose, of course. Jeez, said the techie. Sorry for your loss. Terrible. You want to know what I'll do if I win? I'll shut down the GSS. Dismantle everything it has in the world they've been neglecting. And maybe, just maybe, start to make it better. Meanwhile, I'll be rich. Kind of a zealot, said the wizard. You know that? I'm right, I'm a zealot, Lacero said. This is a game. The fate of the world is literally at stake here. I would happily kill for this cause. I don't just mean avatars either. I mean in the real world. You get me? Two Gunters were cowed into silence. It didn't matter. He wasn't interested in the approval of escapism addicts or anyone else in the Oasis. As far as he was concerned, they were all enemies. Gygas turned out to be a bust. Not only was it crawling with Gunters, there was no hint of the Tomb of Horrors anywhere. It would be another 2 months before he made progress. Having researched the matter thoroughly, Lacero knew that one of Halliday's first purchases when he got rich was a reproduction of the DeLorean from Back to the Future. It was a popular model of transport in Oasis, and one of the game's original available craft. Of course, the time control circuits were just for show, and the flux capacitor did nothing. Oasis could do a lot in the simulation, but it couldn't make you travel in time. It would have to reverse the leveling and progress of all the players. No, it wasn't possible. Or was it? There were numerous areas in the Oasis that were instant zones. That means they would create a duplicate of themselves for everyone who entered. Each person will get their own private copy while they were there. It was a common video game technique dating back to the early part of the century. Lacero realized that an instant zone, having only one player to work with, could actually have time travel as a mechanic. So he bought a DeLorean time machine. They were available at countless shops, and started exploring as many instant zones as he could. At each one, he would try the various dates. Marty McFly had traveled to in the films, November 5th, 1955, October 26th, 1985, October 21st, 2015, and September 2nd, 1885. It never worked. The car would go through the motions of sparking, flaming tire tracks, and a bright flash when he reached 88 miles per hour, but no time travel would occur. At least, not until he got to Cloud Cuckoo Land. Cloud Cuckoo Land was a planet covered with the most extreme and bizarre conspiracies anyone had ever come up with. It had a number of scenarios players could take part in, from uncovering an Illuminati to finding crashed alien spacecraft to any other strange or new age ideals people could imagine. On Cloud Cuckoo Land, they were all true. Occasionally, people wondered why there was retrospective on Mount Shasta in an otherwise unimpressive mountain zone. Those that had visited also wondered why they were placed in instant zones when there wasn't anything worth doing there. Lacero had picked up on this oddity while searching around for instant zones and decided to check it out. Once there, as usual, he tried the various Back to the Future dates. He had the flying version of the DeLorean, so getting up to 88 miles per hour was not a problem. But as usual, nothing happened other than some special effects. He was about to leave when a thought struck him. What's so special about Mount Shasta? He did a simple search online for Mount Shasta in the 1980s and found something significant: a harmonic convergence. The harmonic convergence was a New Age cultist phenomenon that came and went in 1987. It was supposedly a major event in the Mayan calendar that coincided with a planetary alignment. The convergence was strongest in certain power centers, of which Mount Shasta was the most potent. In reality, it was just a bunch of drug-addled hippies convincing themselves that they had a shared experience. It was a perfect scenario for Cloud Cuckoo Land. There was one catch. The harmonic convergence could not be done at any old time. It began on August 16, 1987, and only lasted 2 days. Lacero typed the date onto his time circuits. He gunned the hover drive until he hit 88 miles per hour, and the usual flash happened, with flaming tire tracks left behind him. But this time, something was different. A moment ago, it had been winter. Now it was much greener, and a large crowd was visible at the base of a mountain. He'd traveled in time. He landed the DeLorean at the edge of the crowd and joined them. At least 100 people, all in 1980s apparel, sat in a circle and chanted. Had they been real people, he would have been disgusted by the ridiculous display. But these were just NPCs controlled by a computer, and part of the scenario. He sat among them and half-heartedly chanted as well. After a few moments, cloud formed over the chanting circle, and the wind picked up. NPCs cheered as the harmonic convergence began. Then, words appeared in the sky, and the booming voice of James Halliday read them throughout the heavens. You seek solutions to the gates, but know you what awards await. Like Kirk, Scott, and Chekhov too, the Genesis is all for you. Lacero laughed. He figured out the meaning immediately. At last, he saw a way to make it all happen. Everything he wanted. It could be done. Oh, that. Why do I have... Okay. Excuse me, sorry about that. I have to say, you tested in the 99th percentile of all candidates, said the interview. Thank you, said Lacero. It was one of the shortest hiring discussions we ever had. You scored extremely high on intelligence and determination. Also, your knowledge of Halliday is exemplary. We believe you could be a valuable addition to the IOI family in our oology division. Lacero nodded. Sounds great. We'd like to offer you a full-time job. The interviewer waved his hand and a contract appeared in the air. It flew to Lacero and hovered in front of him. We'd like an answer within 24 hours. Feel free to review the contract, but I can give you the basics. Free room and board at the real-world IOI headquarters in Columbus, Ohio. Medical, dental, 2 weeks vacation per year, the usual stuff. And if you are the one who actually finds the Easter egg, you get a $25 million bonus, of course. Should you find the egg, all benefits from it become the property of IOI. Understood, said Lacero. He took a moment to look over the contract. It was a lot of legalese, but it was clear that IOI would get all the GSS stock if he found the egg. And they would also control any special abilities his avatar got as a result. It didn't matter. They never get the chance. The harmonic convergence made that clear. You seek solutions to the gates, but know you what a reward awaits. It didn't get much more brilliant than that. The clue wasn't about the copper key. It was about the prize itself. Like Kirk, Scott, and Chekhov too, the Genesis is all for you. The names mentioned were obviously all characters of Star Trek. While the TV show was from the 1960s, 4 of the Star Trek movies came out in the 1980s, right in Halliday's wheelhouse. Within the Star Trek universe, the Genesis device was an invention that could create life on a lifeless world. It would also destroy any life that there was to begin with. So the winner of the egg would have the power of life and death in Oasis. That was hardly notable, in fact. It was pretty much to be expected. More important, though, was the mention of Kirk, Scott, and Chekhov. It was a reference to a specific scene. In the 2 movies related to the Genesis device, there was only one scene where about those 3 characters, and only those 3 characters, did something together. When they entered the self-destruct codes for the Enterprise in Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. So there it was. The winner of the egg would have the power to destroy the entire Oasis. It was Lacero's dream come true. If he won, he would activate the self-destruct immediately. That would be it. IOI would cry about it later, and they'd probably sue the pants off him. They might even try to kill him out of spite, but they wouldn't be able to bring Oasis back. I'm sure everything will be in order, Lacero said, pressing his thumb to the contract to sign. Great, said the interviewer. Oh, we're going to need your real name for legal purposes. Sorrento, he said. Nolan Sorrento. The interviewer shook his hand. Welcome aboard, Nolan. Your employee number is IOI-655321. I think you'll fit right in. So that is Lacero. Honestly, that was a really good story. I'm not too, like I said at the beginning, I'm not familiar with Ready Player One, but looking at the structure, looking at the character, and everything, it was actually pretty well written. Let me think. I'm trying to like figure out what I would rate this. The pacing is fine. The idea behind this, I can see why the story was kind of incorporated into the movie, which is actually pretty cool. I would give it a 4 out of 5. Yeah. There's nothing wrong, but nothing particularly wows me about the story. It's good, but it's not great. Like that's the general consensus I can give to the story. It's a good story, no doubt about that. But it's not exemplary. It's not immaculate. It's good, but not great. So that is my reading of Lacero. Like I said, really like the story. So this has been Dark Symphony 777, and cut.